Hey guys, in this video we're taking a look at a really cool, unique delay plugin from Soniccharge called EchoBode, or EchoBode if you will. So what's unique about this is that it's a delay and the feedback cycle is run through a frequency shifter or a Bode frequency shifter. So this is named after a German scientist named Harold Bode. I think that's how you pronounce it in German. What a frequency shifter does compared to a pitch shifter is that it shifts all the frequencies linearly. So the effect of this is that as if you have a bunch of different overtones and you shift them all by the same amount hertz-wise, then you may result in something inharmonic as you're shifting around. All right, so let's go over the knobs. So at a high level, in the middle here, this giant knob is your main kind of frequency dial, and this is your primary frequency shifting knob. At the bottom here, you have an LFO, which you can assign to a bunch of different parameters, as we'll see shortly. And then on the left here, you have your basic kind of delay, standard delay controls. Frequency shifter can be switched at how kind of sensitive it is. So right now we have it in the wide setting, which has a really wide sweeping range. We can set it to fine and make it more subtle. And then the other two, you have sync, so you can synchronize it to the clock. And then finally, you can set it to MIDI. The actual notes on the keyboard determine the frequency shift amount. So first, let's talk about a little bit about the theory. So when you do a frequency shift, what happens when you look at the spectrum or kind of the Fourier analysis, you can see that every sort of overtone or frequency in the spectrum turns into two sidebands, one that is shifted above the frequency and one that is shifted below. And another side effect is that you may get frequencies that are actually negative, that appear below 0 hertz. So the only reason I mention that is because it'll make sense when we talk about these knobs here. Those negative frequencies can kind of mirror themselves in the positive side and create these unwanted overtones. So there's a proprietary algorithm in the plugin which will remove the negative frequencies, so you can turn anti-reflection for that. And then at the bottom here, we have a sideband knob. So like I mentioned, every frequency will get two sidebands, one above and one below. And this sideband knob lets you kind of blend which one you want to eliminate and which one you want to keep. So if you set it to up, you will kind of keep the upper one. And if you set it down, you'll keep the lower one. It will kind of shift down instead of up. And that has in turn an effect on how this wheel behaves. So if I set it to up and I move up, it shifts up, 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 up. Versus if I pick the down one only and move up, it'll move down in frequency. And then finally at the bottom here, we have a phase control. So when the knob is at 0, you can kind of manipulate the phase distortion. So let's shift over to the delay side of things, because so far we've only been listening to a static. We've kind of been affecting the sound directly without any kind of delay. All right, so the first knob we're going to look at is the mix knob here. Because I'm running this as an insert effect, I want to make sure that I blend in my original sound. Knobs at the top here are your basic kind of delay parameters that you'd see on every other delay plugin, the delay time and the feedback amount. So let me increase the delay time. I'm going to do it slightly exaggerated so we can play with the effect. And then I can create the feedback to get more repeats. And so far I have the frequency shifter to 0, so we're just getting kind of a standard delay. But here's what happens when I kind of bring this up. You can hear that the echoes are being frequency shifted. Obviously, you can get these really kind of sci-fi inharmonic sounds if you exaggerate it, but you can make it more subtle. I can set it to fine and kind of only shift it by little. So you get more of kind of an eerie, subtle effect. All right, so moving on here, you can turn sync on, which will turn the delay time into note division so you can sync it to your DAW. Cross here is related to feedback, and because this is a stereo plugin, you have a left and right channel going in, going through the feedback and then coming back into the plugin. So if you turn cross on, it'll kind of cross the signals after the feedback chain. So your left channel will go through the feedback and come back into the right, and the right will go into the left. All right, below that we have a high pass and a low pass filter. Again, this is in the feedback cycle. So let's hear that. So I can close the low pass filter. So we're getting a much more muted echo. So we've covered almost everything. The only thing left is this smear knob, which will kind of smear the delays and create almost like a reverb type of effect. So let's see what that sounds like. So let's go over the LFO settings. We have the shape of the waveform of the LFO. You have sine wave, saw, square, and random. Then we have the rate, which is the speed of the LFO, and then the amount of modulation, either positive or negative. Below the rate, you can turn on syncing to sync it to the DAW clock. And then the stereo switch will make it so that the left and right side of the spectrum have their own LFOs but are inverted. And then finally, you can choose the destination of modulation between the frequency, so this knob here, the phase, so this knob here, the low pass filter, so this knob here, or the delay time, so this knob here. So first I'll leave it on frequency, and let's see what that sounds like as I bring up the amount. We have a sine wave. And then you'll see when I turn on stereo, we'll get kind of like a ping pong. Then we can turn into a saw wave. Or we can randomize. All right, next we have the phase. So again, this is very subtle, but it creates this nice little shift. Almost giving you kind of like a phaser effect if you set a slow rate. All right, so that covers all the controls on the front panel here. So now I'm just gonna browse through a bunch of the different presets and kind of improvise some stuff. All right, to switch it up a little bit, I've loaded up an Alicia's Keys acoustic piano. That's the dry sound, so now let's browse through some presets. All right, let's try it on guitar. So I've got my Jaguar here. I'm running it just through a basic clean amp plugin from Ableton Live. So let's turn on the plugin and browse. Of course, we can try it with some vocals. Check. 1, 2. Hello, this is my voice going through the EchoBode. Harold Bode. Hello. What's going on here, brother? Where am I? Am I in a dream? Or am I in hell, brother? Hello? Quite what I was expecting, but... Hello. Okay, this is another test. This one sounds pretty pleasant. That's just the way it is here, brother. Hello, test. Whoa, this one is cool. I sound like a deep robot come to take over the world. A simple echo. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Whoa, this one is cool. Robot voice, hello. Yeah, this is just a test of me running through a bunch of different... The most exciting demo you've ever heard. Whoa, there are some interesting effects here that could be useful. If I bring up the rate here, whoa, this is crazy, yo. Hello? Is it me you're looking for?
I can see it in your eyes. Wow, what's wrong with my voice? Have I taken some helium, brother? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is how I always sound, John. Oh, John, let's write a song together.
Hello, Ghost Metal. Whoa.
Wow.
Yo, this plugin is actually kind of cool. Wow. There's so much potential for weirdness and experimentation. Experiments and create lots of different kinds of... Obviously, this would sound much better if I was singing through it, but I'm not a singer, so I'm not gonna torture you with that. This is another test sound, Brownian motion that... You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing. Bode, is that how you pronounce Bode? Is it Bode or is it a Bode?
Can you hear me? I'm trapped in a radio.
You probably is. And anything I was saying, I should also mention that, whoa, this... What the hell is going on? Hello? Let me find a note. Fast forward selector! Resonate hardly or hardly resonating, do you know what I mean? Oh, Robot Chicken, hello, slow. Okay, this is getting kind of crazy. Akashishi brother. Akashishi brother. All right, let's see what it sounds like through drums. So I've loaded up this drum loop. Here's what it sounds like raw. Let's browse through some presets. That's sick. All right, that is pretty crazy. It like brought out a bass line out of the simple. So again, here's a raw drum loop. Very kind of high pitched, no sound of a bass, and then I turn on the plugin and there's like a bass line in there now. Pretty sweet. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Hopefully that gives you a good kind of idea of how the plugin works and what it sounds like roughly with different kinds of sounds, vocals, drums, and keys. But obviously you can run synths, you can run an entire bus through it. Yeah, definitely thumbs up from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next.